Hello, good morning. My name is Magdalena Martinez. I'm from Vineland, and I am an apprentice with the Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters, Local Union 255. Thank you. My journey to the Carpenters Union was through my union's Carpenters Apprentice Ready program, or CARP, which I started in January of this year as a pre-apprentice. I have always known that I wanted to work with my hands, and an office job just wasn't for me. That is why I became an apprentice, and became a pre-apprentice, and am now a first-year apprentice who is able to earn as I learn. In New Jersey, the union way of life is something to strive towards. Union workers cannot do that, though, without opportunity. Governor Murphy is providing that opportunity by promoting and cultivating a new offshore wind industry. This new energy industry will provide good-paying jobs for union workers and help expand our energy production right here in New Jersey. My union has invested in preparing New Jersey's workforce for this moment, expanding the Thomas C. Ober Training Center in Hamilton, New Jersey for heavy construction, pile driving, and offshore wind training, and opening the first union commercial dive center in the country right here in South Jersey. There is a bright future ahead for carpenters like me because of the investments being made by the union and the state of New Jersey. I am honored to introduce Governor Phil Murphy and thank him personally for all he is doing to provide opportunity for union workers like me. Governor Murphy.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Is it me or do you feel really small? Give me a second here because unfortunately we've got some very tragic developments in the state today, but I want to thank Maggie for your very generous introduction and for all the great work that you and your fellow carpenters and other union brothers and sisters are doing. So let's hear it one more time for Maggie. So before we get to the matter at hand, I have to say a few words about a tragedy that unfolded in Newark last night. Our hearts are heavy as we mourn the loss of two Newark firefighters who made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty, at least one of whom is known personally to Ileana Pinter-Marin, who I can't find here at the moment. We extend our deepest condolences to their families and loved ones, and we pray that those injured, and there are many injured, have a full and speedy recovery. This tragedy is a painful reminder of the dangers our firefighters face and their remarkable courage. While details are still emerging, it is clear that once again our firefighters rose to the occasion as they rushed into the unknown, this time a cargo ship full of cars docked at Port Newark. And by the way, the fire, I'm told, as I pulled up, is still going. Fighting a fire aboard a ship is a daunting and complicated endeavor, and yet they served without hesitation. We are all deeply grateful to our firefighters for their unwavering dedication to keeping our community safe, and our hearts are with the Newark Fire Department and their families. I think it's appropriate if you all could join me in a moment of silence in their honor. Thank you, and God bless all of our firefighters. So again, Maggie, thank you for kicking us off. Thank you all for joining us. We're here today to sign not one, not two, but three major laws that will provide a significant and long-lasting boost to our 21st century economy. At the risk of sounding a bit boastful, this is a monumental day for our state because we are creating the jobs of the future right now. Before I get into the specifics, I want to thank our hosts, EEW, and all the managers and workers doing such incredible work here. I want to thank Gloucester County Commissioner Director Frank DeMarco, Paulsboro Mayor Gary Stevenson, Paulsboro Council President John Giovannitti, and all of our esteemed local officials. I also have to give a huge shout out to our partners in the legislature, led today by Senator Bob Smith on the Senate side, on the Assembly side, Raj Mukherjee, Paul Moriarty, my cousin Carol Murphy, as I mentioned, Ileana Pintor-Marin, who I can't find. I know Lou Greenwald, majority. Where is she? Oh, she's up here. I apologize. Sorry about that. Budget chair, I might add, Ileana Pintor-Marin. Majority Leader Lou Greenwald, I know, is going to join us. And I thank all of them, not just for their presence today, but the fact that they understood how important these bills were to the future of our state, and they helped get it over the finish line. I also want to give, I shook their hand a minute ago, a particular shout out to two longtime friends and big advocates and leaders in this space and in so many. Please help me welcome former Senate President Steve Sweeney and former Assemblyman John Bersicelli. Let me be unequivocal about these two guys. They championed offshore wind from the very beginning, including long before I got here. They saw early on the jobs potential for this district in Gloucester County and South Jersey more broadly. And they helped make sure that we kept this plant open. Throughout this journey, they have been invaluable partners, and I cannot thank them enough. And I could say unequivocally, without Steve and John's support and help, we would not be here today without them. Amen. Plus, John's on the ballot, but it's not a political event, so I can't speak to that. We're also joined up here, in addition to Maggie and Ileana Pintor-Marin, who's materialized, two other dear friends. South Jersey Building Trades President Dan Costner. Dan, great to have you, buddy. We love you. I feel like this is about to... We clearly spared no expense on the podium today. I also want to thank another dear friend. I think President Emeritus, Kevin, is that right? President Emeritus of IATSE, Kevin O'Brien, another dear friend, Kevin. And I want to thank them and all their members and all the brothers and sisters for everything they do in our union brothers and sisters for our state's economy. Amen. Rounding out the team, we have the CEO of our Economic Development Authority, Tim Sullivan, is with us today. Labor Commissioner Rob Acero Angelo is in the house. Chief of Staff George Helmy's just arrived. George. Chief Counsel Paramel Garg. We got a lot of team members here, but I also want to give Deputy Chief of Staff and overseeing our economic affairs, Eric Brophy, a shout out as well. Now, in terms of the three pieces of legislation we're signing today, the first bill is absolutely critical to moving our entire offshore wind industry forward and cementing our leadership in this new industry. Pandemic, supply chain disruptions, the war in Ukraine, inflation, among other things, have caused major economic headaches and raised the costs for offshore wind projects, not just in New Jersey, but on the entire East Coast, and I think you could say this unequivocally, around the world. This bill enables New Jersey's first offshore wind project, Ocean Wind 1, to move forward by tapping into federal tax credits specifically designated to help the offshore wind industry. And this bill will also trigger an additional $200 million of private sector investment in manufacturing facilities in our state. Folks, I cannot emphasize this enough. We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity right now to bring tens of thousands of overwhelmingly union jobs and billions of dollars of investment to our state with offshore wind. Just look at around us and you see the scale of these monopiles completed, by the way, the first ones completed on U.S. soil. I underscore, the first ones completed on U.S. soil. And that happened, all of that happened right here in Paulsboro at this facility. Consider for a moment the size and scale of these entities, which serve as the foundation for offshore wind turbines. A tremendous amount of skilled labor has to go into each one, and that means jobs, good-paying union jobs. With facilities, amen. With facilities like this in our wind port in Salem County, New Jersey is literally building the foundation for our nation's entire wind industry. And this bill will allow these projects to expand and create even more jobs. The second bill we are signing today makes our film and digital media tax credit program even more attractive. So New Jersey will now be the first place people look to film, not just in the United States, but we've got some folks here who can add legitimacy to this statement, but anywhere in the world. This builds on the incredible work that we have done to support our film industry. So in 2017, which was the year before we got into office, and we reinstated that film credit almost immediately, Steve, as I recall, when we got into office. The year before we got here, our state had $67 million in production spending. Fast forward to last year, 2022, we hit $650 million in production spending. Which is nearly a tenfold increase in just 5 years. And I'm happy to say all that production led to the creation, Kevin, of 8,500 new jobs, again, overwhelmingly union jobs last year. Tim Sullivan will correct the record if I get this wrong. I believe the ratio of the incentives we put on the street last year versus the production value was something like 6.5 to 1. So we put about $100 million on the street, and in return for that, we got $650 million in production. You don't need to be a math major to figure out that that's a good trade that we should make every single day, and that's another reason why we're here today. And we're just getting started. Those numbers that I mentioned from last year are going to look better and better once the major studios finish building out their production facilities in Monmouth, Essex, Hudson, and Middlesex counties at a minimum. And Barry, human applause machine Kushner is in the house. I love you, buddy. And thanks to the bill that we're signing today, New Jersey will be among the top film producing states in the nation and maybe even the world. So you will see even more jobs and more benefits for New Jerseyans. Many, many deserve credit for reviving the film and TV industry in New Jersey, and our team, certainly Tim, Joe Kelly, who's formerly a member of the team, Eric Brophy, I mentioned him earlier, and I have to add, because she's been up to her eyeballs in this industry, a big shout out to First Lady Tammy Murphy. The third and final bill for today makes critical changes to our so-called Aspire program, which brings new commercial and housing developments to under-resourced communities by helping to finance projects that otherwise would not be economically feasible for developers. We've already seen this program deliver wins across the state, and this bill will help get even more projects across the finish line by addressing some of the challenges that emerged after we introduced the program, like inflation, supply chain disruptions, etc. So not only will this bill create jobs, it will help bring more affordable housing to where it is needed, particularly to our largest urban areas. Now, I know that we are covering a lot of ground today, and each of these bills is significant in its own right. But I do not want folks to lose sight of the bigger picture. There is a cumulative effect here where 1 + 1 = 3, meaning the sum of the parts is greater than each of the parts. Together, these bills put New Jersey on the forefront of the 21st century economy and create a steady pipeline of good jobs and opportunities well into the future. But perhaps more importantly, they help build an economy that works for all of us. That is at the heart of our nation's promise, where everyone has the chance to achieve their dreams through hard work. And that, too, is at the heart of our administration's agenda. And that is what we mean when we say we are building a stronger and fairer New Jersey. The unfortunate reality is that the American dream has gotten further away for too many people. And that is not the future that any of us want for our children. So we are committed to creating more pathways to opportunity. And that is exactly what these bills do. That is why we are signing a bill today that helps ensure we invest in all of our neighborhoods, because we know opportunity has not always been open to everyone, especially in our communities of color. That is why we're signing an offshore wind bill today that helps build our clean energy economy to both create jobs and fight climate change so our children can actually enjoy their future. And that is why all of the bills we're signing today will not only create jobs, overwhelmingly, again, union jobs. That is a major part of this. There is no future for New Jersey without our unions. Let's welcome Majority Leader Lou Greenwald. Lou, great to have you. You actually got 2 shout-outs today. There you go. As we build out new industries, we've made sure that unions play a key role, because unions offer a path to the middle class and provide safety protections and benefits. We want quality, sustainable growth that actually benefits workers for generations to come. That is how strong economies are built, from the bottom up and the middle out, not from whatever trickles down from the top. So all of this is part of our plan to build the next New Jersey, where everyone can find their place, where every worker can see their hard work pay off, and where every family can afford their American dream. That is the next New Jersey. And today we are boldly stepping into that future and taking everyone with us. Again, we are tremendously thankful to our partners in the legislature who share our values and vision and help make this happen. Now it is my great honor to hand things over to a dear friend, Local 351's own, the president of the South Jersey Building Trades. Please help me welcome Dan Costner.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Listen, on behalf of the women and men of the South Jersey Building Trades, and I want to recognize my Vice President, John Young. Stand up, please, Johnny. It's great to be here, and again, on behalf of us, I want to thank the governor, Governor Murphy, and the rest of the legislature for their leadership in making these bills a reality today. I also want to recognize former Senate President Steve Sweeney and John Berticelli. Like the governor said, without you two guys, we probably wouldn't be standing here today. You guys got it rolling. So, listen, these bills will ensure that construction can continue at this site and will create many jobs for the construction industry and the women and men of the building trades. I just got to talk a little bit. I wrote a few notes today. I don't usually like reading from them, but I started in 1987 in my apprenticeship for the electrical union, and I was fortunate enough to see a lot of changes and a lot of things transpire along the waterfront here. And Steve Sweeney, who was here before me, one of my counterparts, Richard, I don't want to miss anybody here, but we saw so many changes along this waterfront, all the way from Camden all the way to Carney's Point. And over the years, when I first started, there was a lot of refinery work and a lot of chemical plants, and it kept us busy. When the retail, when the casinos weren't going, these facilities kept us going, and then they kind of went dormant. So when you've been around, and I hate to say it, I used to always be the young guy. Now it seems like I'm getting a little older. But and Chuck Delvecchia, my assistant business manager, is here somewhere. Ian Leonard's here. You know, when this started coming back and we saw this facility start growing, and with all the help from the people of the Gloucester County and all, it really revitalized everything, and you saw what was just an overgrown place become something that's massive like this. So, you know, it really hits your heart when you see this happening, and it affects so many people. And as the governor said, union people, union women and men of South Jersey. So it's so great to see this happening. The other thing this legislation will create is long-term jobs for the local region, which turn into an economic stimulus for the surrounding communities, which is so important. This is what happens when the public and private sector get together to ensure the economy moves in the right direction. The signing today of this legislation signals the commitment that Governor Murphy and his administration has for a greener economy for future generations. So it's unbelievable. Just take a look at the things we're building here. I thank everybody that's involved. Keep up the good work, and let's all keep working together. Thank you.
Really well done, Dan, thank you, and amen to everything you said. I don't think he's used to hanging out with monopiles and whatnot, but we got another great leader with us today. I mentioned him earlier. And please help me welcome the President Emeritus of IATSE, IATSE, Kevin O'Brien. Kevin, come on down.
Good morning, good afternoon, I believe. I'm Kevin O'Brien. I'm the President Emeritus of Local 632, but I'm also the Legislative Director of the 10th District IATSE on the New Jersey side. We encompass New York and New Jersey. Our international president sends his regrets, Governor Murphy, because he's in transit today. He really wanted to make it, but he couldn't make it here. So I bring greetings from International President Matthew Loeb, our General Secretary Treasurer James Wood, and the entire IATSE Executive Board nationwide and Canada, and the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico.
A little bit. We need to get a little bit more volume.
Okay, thank you. Our 10th District Chairman, Greg Hancock, could you stand for a second? He's in attendance. Greg is also the president of Local 59 IATSE, which encompasses Hudson County. A few weeks ago, we were gathered in our district convention at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. And Governor Murphy was gracious enough to honor us with his presence to make some remarks. And I don't know if he remembers what ballroom we were in, but it happened to be the Hollywood East. The Hollywood East. What does that say? That encompasses everything right now that we're working towards and working with. And if he doesn't mind me saying, he's now my brother. We gave, the international president wanted to honor Governor Murphy and everybody probably in this room, especially the legislators that worked so diligently on this legislation. Senator, Assemblyman Bertuccelli, Senator Sweeney, you guys were tremendous in drafting the enabling legislation years ago. But we gave an honor to Governor Murphy, which was so richly deserved. He has an IATSE gold membership card now, lifetime membership in the IATSE. He is our brother. So let me just speak two anecdotes. Governor gave all the figures on this venture. It's a quality of life thing for us. And I'll just give you two quick examples. As soon as the enabling legislation was signed by Governor Murphy, like he said, in 2017, I had a phone call from one of our members in the western county of Somerset. And he said, Kevin, you have to thank them profusely because I no longer have to make a 2.5-hour commute across the river to go to work as a gaffer. I can now work in New Jersey because the production has moved to New Jersey, and my commute has been cut in at least 3/4. That's a quality of life issue for our membership. The second was, I can give a personal example from myself. I'm a theatrical rigger. Really, I'm a theatrical rigger. I mostly work in live. I'm the head rigger at MetLife Stadium, and in fact, we're going to be finishing a concert and loading out tonight, where I have to be back there at midnight. But the fact is that when we were all shut down during COVID, I went to work on The Equalizer for 5 weeks, courtesy of the film tax credits that Universal NBC took advantage of, and worked with our governor and worked with our administration to continue to give us union good-paying jobs. It kept me off the unemployment line for at least 1.5 to 2 months. So that's a perfect example of what this bill, what this legislation has done for the working person in New Jersey. And lastly, I want to hit on this very hard. I don't know how many people know what this is. This is our union label, and you will see it on the end of every motion picture and television series that's working under an IATSE agreement. We encompass cinematographers, cameramen, assistant camera, grips, which encompass Local 52, encompasses grips, gaffers, set decorators, special effects artists, technicians, pyrotechnicians. 798, makeup and hairstylists. Count how many local unions I'm naming here. Not just us. 764 wardrobe, local 700 editors. 161, local 161 script supervisors. The Teamsters, I can't forget our Teamster partners, our SAG-AFTRA partners, and our WGA partners, and hopefully they will come to an agreement at the bargaining table with the AMPTP shortly. So, Governor, on behalf of the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees and the technicians, artists, and allied crafts that work on motion pictures, television, I thank you, we thank you, and I can't say enough about your membership now. Thank you.
Yeah. Kevin reminded me that the concert tonight is one of the big K-pop bands twice. And they have a record number of shows, of concerts this summer, so they're keeping you and your colleagues well occupied. It occurred to me, just reflecting on a couple of things Dan mentioned and Kevin mentioned, and then just more generally, we're not trying to do anything unnatural today. So on film, we invented film in New Jersey, up north in Fort Lee. We used to be We used to be Hollywood East, and I'm happy to say we are now again. In fact, Hollywood's going to start envying New Jersey. And on offshore wind, you mentioned the industrial past here. You combine that with one of the great shorelines in America, with a very well-sculptured undersea reality that allows us to plant these massive structures as opposed to having them float, which is a lot more complicated, a lot more money. We're reclaiming our position, frankly, in two areas that are completely natural to who we are as a state. Two more outstanding folks we want to hear from. I mentioned him a couple of times today. He's South Jersey's own. He's probably the guy in this, other than my wife, in this big structure that I've known the longest in the state of New Jersey. Please help me welcome Majority Leader Lou Greenwald.
Thank you, everyone. Really honored that the governor took time to come here today. We're very fortunate to have somebody who understands the importance and the value of South Jersey and what it means to our overall state economy. We do a lot of these press conferences all over the state. I can tell you, we don't get this kind of turnout for many of them. And I think it's a sign and a symbol of how important this is and what jobs mean for real people. So if you want to have more of these press conferences in South Jersey, we'll get even bigger crowds, but we appreciate you being here. You know, the governor's going to sign today the law on the wind and the development of wind offshore for New Jersey. And I miss a lot of things about my friend Steve Sweeney being in the state legislature, but last week it was like old times for us, because one of the things I miss working with Steve on is strategy and how we get to yes. And that's something that South Jersey, we have always been of the mindset of, we can identify a problem, but we're not going to walk away until we get to yes. It doesn't have to be our idea, it doesn't have to be your idea, but together we have to solve that problem. And last week, Steve's commitment to public policy and to the betterment of New Jersey, Steve didn't have to work the phones last week with me to help get this done. And everybody in this room should know that this issue, while we think it has tremendous benefits that I'll talk about in a minute, would not have gotten done without Steve getting on the phone and making those phone calls. So Steve, thank you very much for this. I appreciate it. And for our colleagues, Senator Smith, my friend Raj Mukherjee, and Eliana Pittner-Marin, for you guys to travel to South Jersey. I know I've been up and down the state. Steve and I, John Brizzacelli and I have been up and down the state. I mean this sincerely. It means a lot to us that you would take the time to be here today, so thank you. So this legislation means a lot, folks. It means minimum 1,500 jobs in New Jersey. It means hundreds of millions of dollars in economic production and revenue, over 200 New Jersey companies, small businesses that will interact with this. This location, this port becomes the national hub for the East Coast to provide not just for New Jersey, but for wind energy over multiple states up and down the East Coast. If this did not happen, wind would have been developed anyway. It just wouldn't have been here in New Jersey, and it wouldn't have been New Jersey jobs. And for those of you who understand that jobs equate to dignity and respect, these are real jobs for real families with real dreams. And that's what Governor Murphy and this administration have been about, and we are very proud to be a part of that. And I will tell you, there's lots of propaganda that's out there about it. But climate change is for real. When I started my career 28 years ago, a lot of people were still climate deniers. They don't deny it anymore, but they're not willing to take the very difficult and necessary steps to attack it. This is not in and of itself one solution, but it is a piece of the puzzle. And everybody has a responsibility and an obligation to do their part. This is a piece of the puzzle for us to turn the tide, not for us, not for necessarily our children's generation, but certainly for our grandchildren's generation. So thank you for being here. We very much appreciate it. And Governor, thank you for making this a reality. Thank you very much.
Lou, so well said. And the point to underscore, this is going to happen. The only question is what state was it going to happen in? And thank God it's going to happen in New Jersey. I missed, there are a lot of people I'm sure I missed. I see Mayor Janice Kovach in from Clinton, and the reason she's here is she's a big player in the film business. Great to have you. And Tom Bracken and Mike Egginton are behind her from the Chamber of Commerce, and many other folks here today. Honored to have you. Last but not least, Newark's own, again, I mentioned her earlier, as the budget chair. This tragedy up north hits close to the bone to her. She's an outstanding leader. Please help me welcome Assemblywoman Ileana Pintor-Marin.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you for the kind words earlier today. I know that all of our prayers are with the two families that we know of so far of Newark. So in a lighter pace, I'm really happy that we picked today, 91 degrees, all the way down Paulsboro, Brizzacelli. But we wouldn't have it any other way. And I have to say that before I talk about one of the bills that Tim Sullivan will never want to talk to me probably until another year or so, Aspire. I really wanted to say that I'm so thankful to see you, Senator Sweeney. I miss you, but my heart is always with Assemblyman Brizzacelli because, you know, when you talk about the differences in caucuses, right, or delegations, South Jersey, North Jersey, Middlesex, all of that, you know, there's rare times that in the legislature you find real allies, but more so real friends. And at the end, I always knew where John was going to be. He knew where I was going to be, but it never overtook or overpowered our friendship and things that we needed to do together. So, John, I miss you tremendously. I know you're trying to go to the House of the Lords. I mean, the Senate. but we always have a spot for you in the assembly. So it's nice to see you. To Assemblyman Mukherjee, you really deserve all of the credit when it came to the film tax credits and getting that over the finish line. I had the easy part. Him and John McKeon would go out, step out during budget, do the negotiations with Tim and others, whether it was Netflix or whoever was in the State House for meetings. You really led the charge. So I am so happy and thankful that I have a thoughtful legislator, a budget member who is kind and knows the issues and takes the time to really figure out how to solve the problem. And you work day and night. So you and John, kudos to the two of you. Maybe Tim gets a little bit of the credit, and of course, First Lady Tammy Murphy, the rest. So thank you very much, Raj. It's really incredible. You're going to be a big loss to us in the Assembly as you move on to the Senate. So thank you very much. Sometimes I get asked, like, are you sure you're a Democrat and from Newark, New Jersey, and you like to work on tax incentives? I do because, I'm born and raised. I'm an ironbound girl. If those don't understand, it's a very beautiful and unique part of Newark, New Jersey. Not that all of Newark isn't beautiful. I just happen to think that my ward is the best. And I really am so happy and thankful that throughout the last couple of years, and I would say the last 10 to 15 years, Governor, and you can witness this, to see the cranes up in the sky, to see the development that has happened in the city where everybody used to just put it down and downgrade it, that it was so terrible, it's crime. Well, it is the largest city. Things happen, just like in other cities. But there are particular areas and spots that are booming. And what I want to see is what the Ironbound has, that's what all of Newark should have. What the corridors are starting to have, Tim, and you would agree with this is what we want to see all of the city of Newark have. I know we often try to put Jersey City and Newark toe-to-toe, and Raj can say that he agrees that we're just better. But the endless possibilities that Newark has to offer, and with tax credits and incentives in order to bolster those communities, it's like no other. For every job that's created, we know the ripple effect that happens, whether it's for the film tax incentives, which will be booming for hospitality and the smaller restaurants and people to come for tourism. That's exciting. Whether it's a building that needed some help with gap financing and we were able to create, opportunities for for those that need better jobs and offer better wages. So, it's endless, really, Governor, what we're doing here today. I didn't know a lot about wind. It's not my wheelhouse. We don't see a lot of turbines in Newark, New Jersey, but it's part of the things that you learn in being in the legislature. And it's like having colleagues as Assemblyman John Berzacelli and Senator Sweeney that really talk to the need. And it wasn't until I got into the legislature that I really had an opportunity to go down south and see what the real South Jersey was, because growing up in Newark, South Jersey is like the shore. That's as far as you would go. But, to be able to go to Salem, to take a look at, how important nuclear power plant is to Salem County, how important it is to Paulsboro to have this port functioning and working. It's those opportunities that I think all of us that are in the legislature are granted, and it's those are not forgotten. So, Tim, it was a pleasure working with you. I don't want to see you for the next couple of months. But I really enjoyed the back and forth, the thoroughness, the thoughtfulness, and I look forward in making it even better. So I want to see more cranes up in the air. I want to see more building because that provides opportunities for families like I grew up in. So thank you very much, Governor, to you and to your team and to your staff. And to all the other legislators, to Paul Moriarty, who's going to, we have a lot of people going to the Senate. It's really not fair. To Paul Moriarty and to Carol, who's also a part of the team for our budget. Thank you for always welcoming me and never seeing the boundaries of what North and South or Middlesex looks like. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ileana. A couple of quick comments before we get these bills signed. I want to first acknowledge that we have a lot of the studio partners represented today. And one of the great things I love about that industry, Kevin, you know this well, is that everybody goes into any discussion accepting completely it's a union industry, whether you're George Clooney, Kevin O'Brien, or everybody in between. So I want to acknowledge them. They believe in New Jersey. Secondly, I want to acknowledge on the environmental front, I don't think there's a better legislator on the environment and environmental matters in America than Senator Bob Smith. So Bob, God bless you, man. And may I say that you're surrounded by guys who want to join you in your chamber, whether it's Moriarty or McCurgy or Berzicelli, and I wish them all the very best. And thirdly, we're in South Jersey for a big day, without question. But as George knows well and others here, we're having a big day up north, other than away from the tragedy, and that is the feds have stepped up, I think, with the largest transportation-related grant, federal grant in the history of the country. Toward the Gateway Tunnel project. So, at long last. So I say this a lot, and today I really mean it. As they say in Hollywood, it's a wrap. Let's sign these bills. So first bill up is Assembly Bill 5651. The synopsis concerns qualified offshore wind projects and federal tax benefits for certain offshore wind investments, sponsored by a whole host of folks, some here, some not. Lou Greenwald, Paul Moriarty, Carol Murphy, John McKeon, Bob Smith, Gordon Johnson, co-sponsored by Tom Giblin. I want Steve to note that these are bona fide Phil Murphy pens. We used to joke that we were still plowing through the Chris Christie and Memorial pens when I first got off. First pen goes to our first speaker. Let's hear it for the Carpenter's own Maggie Martinez. How are you, Maggie? Next up, Danny Costner, President, South Jersey Building Trades. Stay warm, congratulations. Assembly Majority Leader Lou Greenwald. Lou. I mentioned him a few minutes ago, and I meant every word. Senator Bob Smith. Bob, congratulations. I meant it when I said it. We would not be here without these two guys. Please help me welcome and acknowledge former Senate President Steve Sweeney. I didn't give him the appropriate shout out also as a former mayor of Paulsboro when I introduced him, but let's hear it for my guy. I love him. Senator to be, probably shouldn't say that, John Berzicelli. Another guy who hopes to join John in that august chamber. Please help me welcome Assemblyman Paul Moriarty. And last but not least, my cousin, Carol Murphy. So this offshore wind bill is now the law of the land. Next up, Senate Bill 3748, transfers Motion Picture and Television Development Commission to the Economic Development Authority. I probably should have mentioned that, Tim, when I did my remarks earlier. Revises provisions of film and digital media content production tax credit program and appropriates $30 million, sponsored by some folks here, some folks not, Vin Gopal, and Paul Solerl in the Senate, Raj Mukherjee, Ileana Pinto-Marin, and John McKeon in the Assembly, and a whole host of co-sponsors with them. Okay. First up, President Emeritus IATSE Kevin O'Brien, my brother. Where are you, Kevin? And we've mentioned him many times. We wouldn't have been here today without him. Raj Mukherjee. Raj, where are you, buddy? So this film and television law is now the law of the land. Last but not least, Senate Bill 4023. Synopsis revises various provisions of New Jersey Economic Recovery Act of 2020, including revisions to New Jersey's Aspire program, sponsored by, in the Senate, Teresa Ruiz and Nellie Poe; in the Assembly, Ileana Pinto-Marin and Raj Mukherjee; co-sponsored by, in the Senate, Shirley Turner; in the Assembly, Coach Benji Wimberly. First up, richly deserved credit, CEO of the Economic Development Authority, Tim Sullivan. And last but not least, she didn't come all this way, not get a pen, Budget Chair, East Ward Zone, Ileana Pinto-Marin. This is now the law of the land. One more quick shot there. We have a 40-minute PowerPoint presentation. We'll